this needs to be a broader topic that we discuss at some point. But this is for instance, we'll be doing the draft show later today.
Well,
and we were kicking around like, okay, what are some things we should talk about tomorrow? And one of the things that I had brought up is how certain scenarios would change the way that you think they should draft. So how does cutting Terrence Steele change the way that you might draft? Does losing Javonte Williams change the way you might draft? But one of them was trading Pickens, because I think a lot of people have been talking about it in the context of, well, if you trade Pickens, you got to draft a receiver. And to me, it's like, no. If you're telling me part of trading Pickens is drafting a receiver, the trading Pickens is off the table to me. I don't want to do it then. I want to sign somebody or figure something out, like do something else. The whole idea of trading Pickens is I need more capital to throw on the defensive side of the ball. If you're just telling me I swap Pickens for generic rookie receiver that I'm banking on.
You're still saving a lot of money that you can spend on defense.
Right, but you're not saving it till you don't have a full understanding of what you have at your disposal till after April. And then so you're waiting a year to potentially spend on it. You could throw money at it earlier, but then that just changes your contingency plans going into the draft. So I don't know. I look at it and I say, if you're going to move on from Pickens, moving on from Pickens would just be an asset like evaluation of this is what we have, this is what we need, so we got to find some people to part. It's not because you're actively wanting to move away from George Pickens. It's because you need more assets to address this side of the ball. So I've got to find another way to get a receiver here to replace George Pickens, but it can't be through the draft to me, because that's just a waste of resources at that point.
How strong is the draft at wideout?
It's very good. It's really, really good. I mean, so we'll get into some of his lists later. Dane Brugler had his top 100 out, put out his revised top 100. 17 of the 100 were receivers. So, I mean, it's a lot. If you're telling me that out of, you got all these different positions on the field and 1/5 of the entire top 100 is receivers, that's pretty significant.
Bill Barnwell, ESPN, came out. Don't nod your head and then send his stuff.
Don't
consume it, then nod it.
How much do I send things in my email every day that are just, look at this thing that pissed me off? It's not necessarily, I actively look for things that anger me so that I can bitch about it.
He's got trade proposals for a few different teams. Moves that maybe could or should happen this NFL offseason. Bengals address their lackluster defense. Jamar Chase came out the other day. He goes, everybody knows what we need. That's all I'm really going to say about it. Everybody knows.
Oh, he's quoting Brian Broaddus, the old Philly line. You guys know what we need. It's no mystery.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said leading into the draft for Philly.
The Bengals get Kenny Clark and a 2027 Cowboys 7th-round pick. And the Cowboys in return get
a third?
That means keep going.
Oh.
I can't do this much longer with my busted finger.
A second? That seems like a lot. That's George Pickens territory. Fine, a 4th. A 5th.
7th.
A 6th.
A 2027 6th-round pick.
I'm not a fan.
I'm trading Kenny Clark in a 7th, and I get back a 6th? What? Here's Barnwell's write-up. The Clark era might not last long in Dallas. As part of the Micah deal, contract was a relative bargain in 2025, given that the Cowboys were on the hook for only his $1.3 million base salary and another $1 million in per-game roster bonuses. Clark wasn't single-handedly able to fix Dallas's defense, but he also was not the problem. Next year, he's set to make $21.5 million.
21?
$11 million of which comes due in a mid-March roster bonus. He projects to have the 5th largest cap hit of any Cowboy player. The problem is that the 4th largest cap hit belongs to Quinnen Williams, and the 6th largest cap hit belongs to Osa. Kenny's money is not guaranteed, and it's unlikely that he would be in position to land that same $21.5 million if he hits free agency. Grady Jarrett signed a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Bears after the Falcons cut him last offseason, and I suspect, Barnwell writes, Clark might be looking at something closer to that range as a free agent. So if the Cowboys are going to cut Clark and he won't land the same caliber of contract in free agency, the alternative might include taking a pay cut to the $14 million range and netting the Cowboys a swap of late-round picks in the process.
That is so painfully stupid that I can't believe it was allowed to get past an editor. This is such if the Cowboys...
I think when you're a guy who writes about analytics and all these numbers, like, there is no editor. Like, there's no editor that's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do all this math to...
Right.
That should be Kevin Hagelin's next job.
Hagelin would be perfect for that. He's a newspaper guy who loves math.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be... edit Barnwell, because he sure as hell needs it.
Why is this so dumb?
Kenny Clark for a sixth would be a bad deal. That would be a bad return on your investment. Now,
what about factoring in all this money?
Given the context of that, sure, that matters. But again, none of it's guaranteed, like he references there. That's why we've talked about he will not be playing on that money next year. He's not going to be just a $21 million hit next year with none of it guaranteed. What they would do is, I imagine part of what they're going to do in Indy is they're going to talk to his people, his agent. And they'll work on getting some sort of a deal done to... I bet what you see is he signs, let's say, a 3-year deal. Or signs a new extension. They rip up the contract, right? And he signs a 3-year deal for $45 million. And $20 million of it is guaranteed. Something like that. Where they'll guarantee, and then they'll just spread that number out over the life. They'll do something to massage his number and get it straight. But no, if you're going to move on from Kenny Clark that quick and all you get is a swap in the 6th and 7th round,
man,
that's a non-starter.
I agree. Kenny is probably the most difficult Cowboy for me to assess last season. It feels like Then I hear some people say, no, he was better than And then I do hear some people say he was an
No, you're right.
It feels like a disappointment. How much of that is... Look, I try not to fall victim to the noise. There's a Jerry clip I put on the cut sheet that I'm trying not to play today because it's the same old stuff. It's the same old talk that Tolos have been preaching to me to just ignore for 15 years. So I'm trying not to factor in the press conference when they made the Micah trade and all the stuff they said about Kenny and run defense and scheme and pressure. But I just have an not an sorry, let me correct it. I have an feeling on evaluating Kenny's season what he is.
No, I think it totals up to be the reason why it probably feels split is because there were games he was really good last year. But there were also other games where he was not. He was awful against Carolina. Bad against Carolina.
They got thrown around.
And there were a couple different times last year where it's like, who's that? That's not the guy that Dan Campbell's like, thank God we got him out of the division. I'll take Micah all day long.
Yeah.
That's not that player at all. And so
I was expecting Kenny Clark to be a defensive tackle here that made me say, dang, we definitely have not had that in my time covering this team in 15 seasons. Like, all right, this is what it's like to have that at defensive tackle. Now,
Osa was better leading into his contract. Osa was better his first 4 years than Kenny was last year. But Kenny was still better than a lot of the defensive tackle play you've gotten. It just was not consistent. So it ends up being kind of meh. But I'm sorry, you're not turning around and trading him for a swap of 30 positions on day 3.
Agreed.
That's ridiculous. I would be upset if it was just a 6th. Forget throwing in the 7th. The fact that you're throwing in the 7th is an offensive suggestion. It's so bad.
His PFF grade was a 67 for the year. 37th out of 134 defensive linemen.
That's not bad. That's probably about right. Top third of the league.
Yeah, but when we traded for him, if you would have said, he's going to have a season that's not bad, I would have thought and expected and hoped for more than that.
Sure. Yeah, it was disappointing.
Yeah.
It was not where it needed to be. It was not disappointing enough to say, here you go, you want him for free, Cincy?
Yeah. Other Barnwell ideas. Kyler Murray to the Jets for a 4th.
Kyler Murray and a 6th.
Kyler and a 6th to the Jets for a 4th.
If I'm a team out there and I need to just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks at quarterback. If I'm the Browns and I need to do so, sure.
Yeah, Shador, don't let Emmett hear this.
Yeah, that's true. Sure. Kyler in the 6th for one of our 4th round picks. Yeah, all day. I'll gamble on that talent.
I would too.
I'm all over that.
Raiders, man, the Bears fans have been hyping up a Maxx Crosby trade. Chicaline walking around here. We'll give him DJ Moore. And I destroyed him. I'm like, you don't know NFL value.
Can I before you go to that one? Can I just quickly jump down for the comparison from Kyler? Can I jump down to the Steelers Eagles suggestion he had in here? Tanner McKee gets traded for 2 third-round picks.
I don't even know who that is.
The backup quarterback with the Eagles from Stanford.
McKee?
Tanner McKee gets traded for 2 third-round picks to the Steelers.
What?
So
when was he drafted?
So Barnwell a couple years ago.
No, but what?
6th round.
So a 6th-rounder I've never heard of is going to get dealt for 2 3s?
And Kyler paired with a 6th goes for a single 4th rounder. That's where I'm saying Barnwell, like you compared it, I don't know what he's doing. These are ridiculous suggestions, but okay, you can continue with the rest of the list. I just thought that was an absurd comparison.
DJ Moore and a 1st for Crosby and a 5th. DJ Moore and a 1st for Crosby and a 5th.
Man, yeah, I don't know. If I'm the Bears, I might do that.
DJ's 28. What do you mean you might do that? What's causing you the hesitation? The 1st, obviously.
Just the 1st round pick is just the only thing I would think about.
DJ there has had more catches than I thought. He had 96 in the first year for 1364 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Then 98 for 966. Last year plummeted to 50 and 682.
Yeah, I don't think if I'm the Raiders, I don't think I'd do that.
That's not enough.
No, yeah.
I don't think it's enough either.
I mean, you get Maxx and a 5th in exchange for a 1st, and then DJ Moore, who is starting to decline a little bit. No, I'll pass.
And Chicago's picking at 25.
That's crazy that DJ Moore has 17-game average throughout his career, 79 catches, 1,066 yards, and he's never made a Pro Bowl. Yeah, with all the replacements that we get every year, he's never made one.
All right, those are some of the Barnwell trade ideas, including Kenny Clark on the move again.